So hi everyone. Today we will be talking about Sylify project. But first, let me just allow to introduce ourselves. It's the correct way. So I'm Stéphane Decock. I've been a backend developer for 10 years, mainly using PHP, but some other languages as well. I discovered Symfony back in 2015, and I've been previously used to work with some other frameworks, such as Cake PHP or some homemade ones. And when I discovered Symfony, I was impressed by the capacities and flexibility of it. Back then, I was working on a lot of different kind of projects, such as wine cellar manager or planning manager. It gave a lot of input and insight on how to deal with different problems that I can encounter. And then I've been mainly dealing with e-commerce solutions, and I found out about Silius, and I started to really like it, about the clean code and the way you can customize it easily. So I decided to join the community and start contributing on it. And this is better. And today with me is Luka Smolcic. He's a front-end developer with 10 years of experience. He's more focused on building scalable UI UX solutions compared to just strictly the JavaScript side of the front-end work. And he's experienced with a lot of different frameworks, both in CSS and JS. So it makes him in a good position to face the problem that we will talk today. We both work with Locastic, which is an award-winning software software development agency, which is now 11 years old. So we have a lot of insight on many different projects. We mainly do UX, UI design, product development, and lately blockchain consulting as well, if you're interested. We have worked with a lot of Silius projects, different ones, both with using the full stack Silius, meaning the shop with HTML and Twig, and also using React-based front store using the Sylius API. And as Tim said, we've been involved in the community for many years, almost since the beginning. So today we are going to talk about the Sylify project. It's tackling on one big pain point that we've faced on the Silius ecosystem, which is the admin interface. So I don't know if you've tried to customize it a lot, but you may have noticed the same problem as we did. So right now it is built with semantic UI, Łukasz mentioned in the keynote. And the main problem with semantic UI is that it's a deprecated library. So no one is contributing to it anymore. And if you are facing any issue or if you discover any bug, you are a bit left on your own. So you have to either fix it or you have to live with some kind of fork. Yep, sorry. Thank you. Yeah. Then the second problem that we faced with semantic UI was that, especially the implementation of semantic UI in the Silius admin panel is that it's not responsive at all. Okay, you can browse a few screens, you can open it from a mobile, and then, okay, you can get to the list of customers, try to solve a small problem and validate the changes, and that's it. But it feels to me more like trying to quickly fix a problem and leave it for some time later when you have access to a computer, more than having a great experience on any tablet or mobile. The third problem that we faced for this project was the backward compatibility. So we came out with the idea of reworking that, knowing that obviously there are a lot of projects existing right now on Silius. There are a lot of plugins as well, and we did not want to break everything and say, hey, we are coming with a new solution, do the changes that you want, but we don't care. That's not the point. So we, as you can see a bit later, we were really focused on providing a backward compatibility layer. The fourth problem that we faced, thank you, was that it's a smaller problem, but still there is no design source files available. So if you start a new project on Silius, or if you try to sell it to some of your customers, you start to draw some admin panel screen. You take screenshot from the existing one, you draw everything from scratch, and then you try to improve what you want to show. So that was also one of the concern that we had in mind, and we will show what we came with a bit later. Fifth problem, that's mainly for developers, but the UI bundle is shared between the front store and the admin panel. So it means that if you want to change a button or a model or any component that is shared, you end up like having side effect on the shop. Let's say you wanted to change it only on the admin, then it also change on the shop, and that's not what we wanted there. Sixth problem, so there, as you can see, we face a lot of issues, but we somehow managed. The sixth problem was that Semantic UI is relying on jQuery library. So jQuery is compatibility library designed to help developers write less code and make it compatible with all the browsers. But thanks to dropping Internet Explorer a few months ago, we truly believe that it's no longer mandatory to have jQuery somewhere, and also it's a heavy library that you have to load on each pages and everything. So we were somehow enthusiasts by dropping that jQuery. And last but not least, the theme modification. Right now in Silius, if you want to do some brandings for your customers, just change some colors. Let's say you don't want the green Silius, you want some red. There is no like clear variable to just quickly change that part and go with the changes. You have to specifically target what you want to override, and then write your own CSS on that. And it's not a great developer experience, and it's, in my opinion, completely in the opposite direction of what Silius is, providing great developer experience and stuff like that. So those were the problems that we faced, and I will hand over to Luka to explain the solution that we found and what we did so far.
Okay, hi everyone. I want to take thanks Stéphane for this introduction. So basically, I want to tell a short story. How did we start doing this? So basically, all of the problems he was talking about now, he was telling me about them on one random break or in our split office. He was telling me about how Semantic UI is deprecated and the whole Silius ecosystem depends on it. And he was asking me what could be used to replace it. Could we do like a completely decoupled solution with React, or could we use Tailwind CSS or something like that? Like, what are the options? How do we handle the whole ecosystem? How do we provide fallbacks? And it was an interesting discussion. And it happened that at a given time, I had some free time on my hand, which doesn't happen so often. So it was like a lucky accident. So I started hacking a bit on it and trying to explore the problem space, trying to see what solutions would work, what the actual problems would arise when trying to tackle the problem. So we had to kind of define some requirements. If we want to change the admin team, we want to match some requirements with our finished product. So the obvious question was with what do we replace the Semantic UI with? There are a lot of different libraries out there that we could have used, but we wanted to focus on these next points of what we are aiming for. For example, we really want it to be developer friendly. So specifically, we want the front end to be backend developer friendly, which means you don't have to know any CSS, you don't have to know HTML either. You just go to the documentation, copy some components, and use them in your own implementation, just like most backend developers use Semantic UI documentation now. So we wanted to keep that kind of process of backend developers easily just copy and pasting some pre-made front-end solutions for their modifications, plugins, and stuff like that. So one pain point that Stéphane mentioned was that it was not easy to brand your admin panels. If you're working with a big brand and a lot of their own employers are using the Silius admin panel, you sometimes want to convey the brand even within your own employers, not just for the front store. And semantic UI is not really making that job easy. So we want something that's really customizable, that's extendable, and that you can modify for your own projects, because the backend side of Silius is like most of us know, is really focused on that custom solutions, and we want the UI to be similarly extendable, customizable, and have the developers have as much power in their own hands to make changes as they wish. So another big thing that was needed to be considered here was that semantic UI is not just a CSS library, it's also an interaction JavaScript library. So some of the solutions were not an option. We didn't want to use like a CSS library and then a bunch of different JS libraries. We wanted to keep the stack kind of not too large, not to have developers jumping through different kinds of documentations to figure out what they need to use to work with it. And hopefully we could choose something that's not relying on jQuery and get rid of the jQuery as a dependency. So what we ended up choosing was Bootstrap, which is like a very long living library, very well maintained, and used by a bunch of developers all over the world. Also has great documentation. It's easy for backend developers to use it as well. And there are a couple of points which really play into Bootstrap strengths and which match the requirements we had for this project. So as I mentioned, we needed to have interactivity, not just the CSS, and Bootstrap provides it. For example, a lot of the Silius admin is built out of drop-downs, accordions, tabs and elements like that, and Bootstrap already has all of those elements, so it was a natural fit to replace those functionalities. And one extra out of the box, how does it? Extra point for Bootstrap was if you copy and paste their markup from the documentation files, it already has area roles and stuff like that, so area labels and roles, so it's already accessible without the need of you knowing how to implement accessibility in the right way. The cool thing about the version 5.0 that we're using, it's finally dropped jQuery, so it's vanilla JS only, which lowers the bundle size, which is something that we wanted to do from the start. And it provides, like I was telling, we want it to be really customizable. So the Bootstrap is kind of famous for that. They have a bunch of well-named variables, or well-organized variables that you can hook into and make Bootstrap branded in your own for your own needs. And the last point here is a cool addition to version 5.0 as well. Tailwind popularized like the utility-first approach to CSS, which makes developer experience a lot better, both for creating the theme and for maintaining it. And Bootstrap in its 5.0 version introduced some utility classes as well, and we leverage those as well in building Sylify. So this part, the most of the work we did was not really very smart or glamorous. It was a lot of grunt work. There are, I'm not sure how many, but a bunch of twig templates, both in the admin, like the entire admin bundle and some of the UI bundle. We had to go one file by one and remove all the semantic UI classes and replace them with the Bootstrap ones. So besides doing that, we tried to add some additional value while we're in the file, so we made everything responsive, fixed some accessible issues we found along the way. And most of the functionality we were able to replace with Bootstrap, but in some particular cases we had to write some JS of our own. So it was just like the taxon tree component and stuff like that. We have to override it and get rid of jQuery and semantic UI in those parts, and there's still work. It's a demo version for now, but the idea was to use Bootstrap as much as we can, write some custom JS for smaller stuff, and if we have, for example, semantic, like the current admin model uses char.js for the first dashboard screen, and we kind of go with the same approach. For example, for the autocomplete elements, we used TomSelect library, which is specialized in autocomplete elements. So for those kind of particular cases, we will branch out and use some open source library when Bootstrap is not cutting it. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So to get the biggest problem, which was a bit less grunt work and more thinking and figuring out how to do it. We don't want to break the whole plugin ecosystems when we do something like this. So at the moment we're still in this phase, we're still experimenting with different solutions. I'll share the link to the demo project later on. We only have 2 plugins there now. Cetono's Redirect, which is a useful but small small plugin that we tested on, and we have the Bitbag CMS plugin, which I think is really commonly used in Silius. So at the moment we include only a small portion of semantic UI as a fallback, and we're doing extensions for. Let me just move to the next slide for a moment. So in this screen you can see the first image is the Redirect plugin in the original theme, and the next one is in our theme. The HTML is the same, so it's using semantic UI classes, but it's not loading any semantic UI CSS. We're targeting semantic classes and extending them with Bootstrap. There's going to be a lot of grunt work there, but it has to be done a bit with more thinking. So in the end, we'll probably have to, for a while, include the entire semantic UI bundle as a fallback and give you an option to opt out of it. But at the moment, some of the plugins can be just targeted and overridden with Bootstrap classes, and it seems to work, at least for these simpler plugins. So to go back here for a moment, this is just like the first initial way to handling it. When we release the beta and you install Sylify, all of your plugins should work as intended, but we have to load first the Bootstrap, then semantic UI as a fallback, and then have a third layer of combining them so it looks like Bootstraps. The semantic UI styles are not leaking, but they're still providing their core functionality. So that brings the bundle size up. So it's just the first initial solution. In the long term, as we heard in the keynote, Silius is planning to drop semantic UI completely, and all of the entire plugin ecosystem will have to adapt at some point. So we're not sure. We'll have to talk a lot more with Silius and see do our solutions get integrated sometime later in Silius, or some of the lessons we learned can inform them on making their own decisions. But in the long run, semantic UI should be deprecated from the entire plugin ecosystem because it's no longer maintained, and it's just a matter of time when the Silius community follows that and gets rid of it. So for the intermediary phase, we will provide plugin migration guides, and then you can have Cetono Redirect plugin and Cetono Sylify Redirect plugin, which would be written in HTML to enable plugin developers to see that it should be easier to build plugins with our improved team, so that we get as much of them on board with this. And then in the long term, if we manage to partner more tightly with Silius core, and we in the version 2.0 we have this in the core, then we can still have the fallbacks, and then the plugin ecosystem should start to transfer completely to the new way of building the team. Okay, we saw this one. Yeah, I'll just move for a moment from the development side and talk a bit about the design. So for example, if either as a plugin developer or as an agency implementing a store for your own clients, the idea of Silius is to be customizable. So if you have to add some feature of yours, the best practice is to do design first, because it's cheaper to do iteration, it's cheaper to generate ideas in the design phase than in the code directly, and you can get the feedback from the client and etc. So at the moment, as Steph mentioned, there are no Sylius admin dashboard source files that designers can take and use. So we decided to parallel to our development phase to work on the design as well, and we have like a demo code version, demo design version, where in the design side we are following atomic design principles. So we have like foundation, small atom components, then bigger components and stuff like that, and it's all connected. So for example, if you want to change the color of your buttons, you do it in one place and propagate it through the entire design. We want to make take full advantage of modern design tools and have a proper, well-structured design system for the admin bundle, so that the entire community can leverage it to build on top of, to build better plugins, better features in their own custom projects, and so. So one additional point here is we want to make sure that we try to mirror the code structure. So macros that you can import in the template should exist in the design system and vice versa, so that developers looking at design as a specification already know what to use in the code base once they're there. So this is at the moment the comparison of the old team and the new team on the edit product page. So it's basically looking very similar. We didn't want to break the familiarity of both developers and end users, so we try to keep things as close as possible, just with some small visual changes. But we did decide to, when we see some opportunity to improve the UX, we will take it. It's a bit small on these screenshots, but if you know from using it, that all of the translations in Silius admin bundle are displayed as an accordion, and if you have a lot of languages, it's a lot of scrolling and it's not really intuitive, and it was really easy to just switch that layout to a tab-based layout and improve the UX there. So whenever we find some opportunities like that to improve the UX while we're replacing the deprecated libraries, we will try to work on that as well. Yeah, so at this point now we have like the proof of concept ready, and we already applied a part of the redesign part. So while I was just removing the classes and replacing them with new ones, we kind of ended up with the commonly known generic Bootstrap looking website. So we are applying an additional layer of our own opinionated styling to the theme and improving UX whenever we can. And in this process now, the code base is still like a construction site, but we want to provide like really well structured and documented layers for end user to customize the theme and expose like a layer of our own variables on top of Bootstrap's ones, so it's even easier to like go in, add brand colors, choose the typography, and you're practically have like the basic branding, like with just a couple of config changes. I think I can move to almost the end of the presentation and talk about where the moment concretely we are and what the next steps would be. So yeah, practically with this presentation here, we conclude our proof of concept demo phase. We prove to ourselves that Bootstrap, even though it's a lot of work, but whatever framework we choose, it will be a lot of work to replace all of the classes, but Bootstrap showed itself like a good solution. We only had to include one additional JS library to cover the interactivity, and the CSS, I had to create a couple of extra utility classes to help me out with some spacing and stuff like that. But generally, it showed like a good solution. It did the work that it was needed, and we also saw that we can cover the functionality of install plugins which still come depending on semantic UI. They can still work inside our team. So The next phase would be to polish up the rough edges. We also broke some things while building this, so we have to work on those. We have like 3 or 4 active Silius projects running at Locastic. So the goal would be, the next step would be to try to use them on our own projects for clients, try to get them to production in our own projects, and see if some additional problems which are breaking the production come up, because we don't want to let production breaking issues out to the public. Yes. So yeah, once we're sure that we can use Sylify on our own projects, we would like to release the beta version, try to collaborate more with plugin developers, try to get people to actually use it, give us some feedback, and see how things go from there. In the long term, as the keynote said, semantic UI should go away from Silius, and it's now a matter of where exactly do we fit into this story. In the smallest version, we can provide some experience by doing this and tell what have we noticed, make that journey a bit easier, and in the best case scenario, we can get some other community members to help us to bring this to like a full-featured, good enough solution, so it's included in the Silius core at some point. Yeah, I think that's it. And I think we're a bit before time, but yeah, I just want to say that if you go to sylify.com at the moment, you can, there's like a newsletter box there. Since this is still a beta version, if you're interested in the project, you can leave us your email. We won't send any marketing stuff, and we'll just let you know when we have some bigger updates and stuff like that, and let you know once the beta is ready for testing. And you can also find the demo version of the admin there now, so you can play around with it. As I said, some of the things are broken, not too much, but some of them. But you can see that it's working. It's not having the semantic UI styles anymore, and you can see, does it look good to you. And I think that's all. I want to thank everyone, or say hvala in Croatian, for your attention and for your time. And just a quick note, if anyone is interested in either directly contributing or giving us some ideas or something like that, you can, we don't have like it's an early stage of development, so we won't have like a proper contribution pipelines and processes. But if you would really like to say something, contribute something, you can contact either me or Stéphane directly on luka@locastic.com or Stéphane@locastic.com, and if you really want to, we can find some way to collaborate with you. But at some point in the future, we are hoping to open this up to the community and have proper collaboration and proper contribution from all of you guys. Yeah, and if you want to ask some questions now, you can. If you want to catch us around the venue later, you can do that. So, thank you.
I have a bunch of questions. I'm going to express them all, and I will let you pick the ones that you want to respond. So, the first one, how do you handle semantic UI customization and custom models? Like, you have a Silius instance for like 5 years already, and it's been heavily customized with a lot of additional entities and all that. If you are going to use this theme, how are things going to play along? The second question, do you rely on Silius theme bundle at all for this? Third, is there any coordination between you and the Silius core team in getting rid of semantic UI or maybe getting this into the core? And the fourth one, would you be able to use Rector, the tool that facilitates changes in the code, in order to automatically replace the classes from Bootstrap, the classes from semantic UI with Bootstrap? Thank you.
Thanks. So as much as I can remember, I'll try to address all of them, not in the exact order. So the existing bundle is changed completely. So we basically provide a completely new admin bundle. It's the same in the structure, but basically when you install the plugin, you take our bundle and replace it with yours. That kind of answers your original question, the first one. If there are a lot of customizations done inside the templates which are already existing, it can be changed, but it will be a bit painful because you will have to watch like commit changes and stuff like that, and go over, compare the original to your versions to our versions, and figure out how to resolve those conflicts. So there's no easy way to do it. Either if we use our own team, or if Silius does something completely different, this is a problem that can't be resolved. It will be a breaking change that will have to be manually recreated in the new team, however we do it, yeah. And I'm not sure the tool. Yeah, I never heard of the tool. I guess it's some kind of an advanced search and replace tool, something like that, for the code base. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Maybe it could have saved me some ground. I use search and replace like in some places, but it's not really one-to-one comparison of all classes to new ones. So in the end, you should go over the files one by one and see what's happening. Maybe it could have helped. Did I miss any of the questions? Okay. Anyone else? Going once? Okay, I guess we're done. I think the lunch break is now, so enjoy. And if you want to ask us in private, catch us around the venue. And thank you, everyone, once again.